Alright, welcome to another edition of Track Review. Today we're going to take a look at a set that I got directly from a Chinese company. I believe Top Slots, Top-Racer, something like that. Anyway, they go under the brand name AGM, and thought it was quite interesting. The price for the set itself was relatively cheap. The shipping with DHL air freight was about 1.5 times the cost of the set, but I did it just to kind of see what this thing's like. It looked kind of interesting in the photographs on the website that these people were advertising on, and they do have licensing for a number of major brands of European road cars. So I decided to see what this thing's like. It's billed as an HO scale track. It's hard to tell from the photographs exactly if that's the case or if it's something that's more of a 1/43rd. But anyway, it's billed as an HO scale track. The track itself is different than your traditional HO track. It's not the little wire rail. It's more of a wide ribbon style 1/32 rail. So anyway, we'll get into this here in a second. There's very little English on the box, a few little words here and there, so they've produced this for a couple of markets and that, but anyway, it should be interesting. We'll see what we do here in a second. We'll open it up and shake it out. Alright, this is exactly how it comes out of the box. You have an instruction sheet. Most of it, in fact all of it, appears to be in Chinese, so we'll have to look at the figures and see what that's about. Here are the cardboard cutouts. I guess there's a jump feature where you jump through the polar bear's mouth, and we have polar bears driving what appear to be roughly 1950 convertible Corvettes. That's special. There's a little jump piece, and here are the two cars they just throw in. This is, I guess, reasonably HO scale. It's probably a little larger than what I would like, but it doesn't look too bad. Probably have to compare the size, but overall length and width, that's probably not much different than the new Tomy Mega G Plus GT40. So we'll check that out. The track pieces, they're all kind of rubber band together. They get their rails are basically a 1/43rd, 1/32nd style that is somewhat narrow like HO. It looks pretty good, but anyway, we'll shake it out and see what we have. All right, so here we are. We got the set all put together. As far as assembly goes, it's a little worse than some and better than others. It's a push together type track, and so that part's pretty easy to do. Trying to follow the instructions, believe it or not, was a little choppy, but there's enough pictures there you can kind of get it together. They give you evidently enough supports to get everything done, and we did a test run to make sure everything is complete and working, and it does indeed work. So with no further ado, we will get on to racing some cars. Alright, so let's take a look at these AGM cars here compared to a current HO slot car. Just pick the Tomy Mega G Plus cars because it's a pretty popular car right now. So you can see that basically the car, this AGM car, the footprint's almost identical to a Mega G Plus. The primary difference that you're going to see when you turn them over is the AGM car is designed to run on a little slightly different track system, where the power rails are more, like a 1/32 track, where they're near to the guide slot. So this particular footprint here is a lot narrower than the rail footprint, say, of a Tomy. And the guide pin is also a little bit wider. So this particular guide flag, if that's what you want to call that, won't fit very well in a modern, well, that's not even the right word, in a current HO design track. It'll kind of run in a straight line, but the car has problems in turns because the guide flag is just about as wide as the slot itself, so when it gets into a turn, it wants to bind up. The other issue is, because this is set up for a narrower pickup point to run on an HO track, first of all, if you take and whittle the flag down somewhere to work, you've got to push these braids out to either side so they make good contact. And we'll take a look at what that looks like when you put it on a clear setup block. I don't know if you can see very well or not, but a lot of reflection. So you have to splay these braids out, so when you try to run them on a traditional HO track, they'll make contact. And in this particular setup block, the pin or the guide flag, whatever you want to call this thing, it's not exactly a pin, is wider than this slot here. So you can tell that this car here fits fine on the Tomy AFX, but on this one here it doesn't really fit down in there very well, so you'd have to whittle it down. So that tells you what you need to do, though, if you want to run this car on a traditional HO track. But other than that, on its own proprietary track design, car runs pretty good. So let's get back to racing and see how this track runs. Alrighty. Alright, these controllers, they have what they call a turbo boost button, and let's get the black one here. So what it is kind of a full power button. I guess on the inside of the controller, the trigger may not go all the way down to full power, and then you get this straight on full power type of switch here. Generally with this particular layout, like a lot of these situations where you got a short track and loops or whatever, you can pretty well run it full throttle or in a single position. With this particular set, you can about run the whole thing full throttle all the way around. You can go slower, but for what market this set is probably targeted towards is probably just about exactly right for the skill level for young kids. From that standpoint, it goes around pretty good. It's got a lot of interesting little I don't know, what do you call these things? Items. I can't think right now, sorry. Features, there we go. Features, these little set features, all this stuff. And it works pretty good. The jump works good. Actually, I thought if you went slow, it probably didn't work so good. You went fast, the jump seemed to work pretty good. But the transformer is 12 volts, 3/10 of an amp, so these cars don't draw a lot. And indeed, they've got the voltage set probably just about right for these cars. If it was any higher, I don't think you could drive the set. But anyway, I think we'll wrap this up here. This is the AGM, I don't know, Polar Lights set. I don't know what it's called. I can't read Chinese, but we'll just call it Polar Lights because they had the polar bears in that. And if we can get these things imported for the right price, maybe it'll be a good deal. But onesie twosie, not so much. Anyway, thank you for joining me.